Welcome once again to another edition of Let's Play WCW 1998. This is the go home show from Monday Nitro as we approach the pay-per-view. Let me just fix the webcam. As we approach the pay-per-view Great American Bash this weekend, where the winner of Scott Hall vs. Goldberg will face Randy Savage for the WCW World Heavyweight title, which we will find out who will challenge for that title tonight, as well, which we see that the announcers are kicking off the show talking about. We will find out if Roddy Piper and Ric Flair will compete against each other, and in what type of match, mind you. And also, we will find out, is Eric Bischoff going to team with Hulk Hogan against Bret Hart and Davey Boy? All that and more tonight on Nitro. We kick off Nitro with a surprising ending as Rey Mysterio Jr. comes up short against Chavo Guerrero. You might say, oh, didn't you? No. I didn't know who was going to win. Why? Because that's a bad habit of mine that I sometimes do, and I might have just messed up Rey Mysterio pretty bad. But everything can be fixed, everything can be undone. Chavo, unpredictability is what makes wrestling fun. And this is unpredictable. I'm just as surprised as you guys are. Now we move backstage where we see Hogan and Eric Bischoff ascend out of the limo. Yes, they are by themselves. That does not mean that that there is no longer an NWO. What that means is all NWO members are in the building. It is just that Hogan and Bischoff were gone somewhere else. We're somewhere else. And just are arriving at the show now. It's not like Hogan's world champion or anything, so he doesn't have to be here early, or Bischoff is not the only man in power. But now we move to the next segment, which is the members of the NWO. Yes, I'm well aware that members Scott Steiner is missing. Don't worry about that. Not a big deal. What they are talking about is, well, Scott Hall and Ted DiBiase basically run up to Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff, and tells them he's been hearing people say Kevin Nash is in the building tonight and is looking for Scott Hall and the NWO. And Scott wants to know what to do. Eric says basically, don't worry about it, we'll figure it out. Then we move back into the arena where they talk about it once again, the heated rivalry between Roddy Piper, Ric Flair, and how Chris Benoit and Sid Vicious tie into the feud, and what it means for their match, and how intense their match will be this Sunday at Great American Bash. I do apologize. I thought Bash at the Beach was ran in June, but I guess it is not. It is ran in July, and Great American Bash is ran in June. I just thought Great American Bash was ran in July because of the fact that it, 4th of July, but I guess I was wrong. Now we move to the next match, which is Dean Malenko against Alex Wright. Now you might say Alex Wright is never featured, blah 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 blah, say all these things. Dean Malenko gets the win here for no other reason but the fact that I like Dean Malenko and I want to start using him again on Nitro. Now we move to the next segment. The reason why Dusty Rhodes, if you want to know the reason why Dusty Rhodes has gotten involved in the feud between Roddy Piper and Ric Flair, all you have to do is go back to last week's episode, to the interaction that Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes had backstage in Dusty Rhodes in the backstage area, where Ric Flair is asking. I mean, sorry, it wasn't backstage. It was in the ring. He's asking Dusty Rhodes. I'm getting confused. I don't remember. Do it for both of us. Go back to last week's episode and watch and figure out why Dusty Rhodes is involved, other than the fact that he is the authority figure now, the representative of the WCW Championship Committee. Go back and look, and maybe you could figure out the interaction between, or the connection between Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, and Roddy Piper. Well, you know, Dusty calls out Flair, him and Flair interact for a bit, and then Roddy Piper comes out and, you know, says his side. Dusty says, "I've had enough. It's enough. So this Sunday at Great American Bash, you will face Piper inside of a steel cage, and one of you will walk out the winner, and the other may not walk out. But the one thing that will happen is Great American Bash will be the end of the feud between you, Ric Flair, and Roddy Piper." Now we move to the next match, which is Raven against Ray Traylor. Yes, if you have previously watched this series, you'd know that Raven fought Ray Traylor earlier in the year, going into Sold Out. But now he's going against Perry Saturn. Now you might also say, why is it not a feud? I don't know. Didn't feel like it. Quote the Raven. Nevermore. Raven basically calls out Perry Saturn to challenge him to a match this Sunday at Great American Bash, and Saturn accepts the challenge for the title shot. I mean, for the shot to get free. I mean, Jesus. Raven challenges Saturn, but Raven says that Saturn says, "Raven, one condition for our match is I want you and I to fight where the winner takes all. I want the flock to disband if I beat you at Great American Bash." Raven accepts. Now Fit Finlay against Sick Boy. Fit Finlay is probably the most underused television champion in the history of this company, which is no fault of my own, but, you know. Here we go to Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff are complaining about the fact that they believe that Bret Hart and Davey Boy have Dusty Rhodes in their pocket, and that's why Dusty Rhodes is giving them such a favorable match. Out comes Davey Boy, Jim Neidhart, and Bret Hart to fight against, I guess you could say, Eric Bischoff and Hogan, or argue with Eric Bischoff and Hogan. And Bret says, "Hulk, to get in the ring with you, or to get in the ring with Eric, to get in the ring with Eric again, and to get..." I'm talking in tongue. To get in the ring with Eric, or to get in the ring with you again, would be a great feeling. But unfortunately for you and your idea, I wouldn't have to pay Dusty to get in the ring with you again, because he doesn't like you or Eric. So I don't have to convince him that hard to make the match happen again. Hulk, Eric, they're right. And you know something? That's insulting to me and what I stand for, to think that I could be born. Well, since I was out here before, earlier tonight, I've been on the phone with the WCW Championship Committee, and they were on the phone I was in conference calls with the WCW Championship Committee and higher management, Dr. Harvey Schiller, and we have come to the conclusion that you, Eric, need to be taught a lesson in how to run a company. And that lesson will be taught to you by Bret Hart and Davey Boy Smith. Because Eric, this Sunday night at Great American Bash, you will step into the ring against Bret Hart and Davey Boy Smith. And if there is any funny business from any member of the New World Order, you will they will be suspended indefinitely without pay and must pay a fine of $2,500 to the WCW for interrupting a match. And Eric Bischoff, you need to know this, that if you and Hogan lose, then at Bash at the Beach, it will be you against Bret Hart. 1-on-1. And in that case, Eric, if you don't compete against Bret Hart 1-on-1, you will be fired from your contract and relieved of your duties as executive producer of WCW. So good luck with that, my friend. And as you could probably assume, Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan are very, very pissed off. And now we move to the next segment, which is Sting versus Pat Tanaka. This is, well, designed to give Sting an easy win. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Sting deserves an easy win, and I'm giving it to him. Now we move to the next segment, which is the announcers discussing the segment from earlier in the show where Hall approached Eric Bischoff and Hollywood Hogan about the possible appearance of Kevin Nash and the fact that Kevin Nash is looking for Scott Hall. By the way, I just want to say the reason why I have the headset like this and not the headphones over my head, and I have them the way I do, is to test to see if I get better audio with the mic being closer to my mouth. Now we move to the next segment, which is Mean Gene Okerlund standing by with his guest at this time, Scott Steiner. And Scott Steiner stands in the ring with Mean Gene and addresses his problems with Mike Awesome, picking on Mike Awesome, saying he's accomplished nothing and expected to be the prized member of the New World Order. Well, I hate to break it to you, Mike, I am the prized member of the New World Order. Now we move to the next segment, which is Hollywood Hogan against Davey Boy Smith, and Hollywood Hogan wins off the big leg drop on Davey Boy Smith in a very, very solid match between Hogan and Davey Boy, which surprised me because the last time I booked Davey Boy in a highly anticipated match, he fell flat on his face. You remember it was a couple weeks ago when he fought Sting in the main event on Nitro. Following the match, Hogan distracts Davey Boy long enough Hogan calls to the back for other members in the New World Order, and out comes Curt Hennig and Scott Steiner, and Curt Hennig and Scott Steiner join Hollywood Hogan in beating up and beating down rather Davey Boy Smith, only for Bret Hart to run in for the save and run off Hollywood Hogan, Scott Steiner, and Curt Hennig. And now we move to the main event, which is a disappointing main event between Goldberg and Scott Hall, which, yes, my friends, saw interference from Kevin Nash. And then we close the show off with Tony Schiavone speaking so fast you could barely understand him, with this, saying, Goldberg is the #1 contender to face Macho Man Randy Savage at at Great American Bash this Sunday. Kevin Nash is back, and he caused Scott Hall his opportunity for the world title, just like Hall did to Nash a few weeks ago. But now it's Randy. Randy's on the stage. Randy is staring down Goldberg. Kevin Nash is right in the middle. Looking at each participant, each of his possible opponents. Kevin Nash is looking at each of his possible opponents. Macho Man holds up the World Heavyweight title. Goldberg holds up the U.S. title, and Goldberg points to the World Heavyweight title, and he points to Macho Man and says, "You're next." Fans, next you will find us this Sunday night, live on pay-per-view from Daytona Beach, Florida. Great American Bash. Don't miss it. How did you like my final plea, my final sale? I hope you actually heard it. You know, when I talk fast, my volume gets lower normally. Well, surprisingly, the show actually did pretty well. Hopefully this is a building blocks for the pay-per-view, and hopefully the pay-per-view could be one of our best shows yet. Well, now I just wanted to say something else, and that something else is, truth be told, this series was supposed to go till December. But then I realized that's a little too long. This series will likely end at Great American Bash, so that means the next show will be the finale of this series. After I post Great American Bash, I will post a video talking about the changes upcoming for this series and what beholds us in the next series for the Let's Plays. But until then, we're still here with the WCW, and the game thinks I did a solid job tonight for Nitro. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that stuff. And remember, I'll see you next time. For more, Wrestling Express is the way to go. It's the place to go. See you then.